The love of the other is a condition. The condition for love to exist is that we give up being who we are, so something is wrong. So the other is not loving me, the other has kidnapped me. You could be asking, but Father, how a person can give up being who he is? It happens too much, my people. It happens all the time. As a priest, I have this access to the tabernacle of people's conscience. So, I find a lot of people stolen from themselves. People who had to give up being who is to have the other next door. This happens a lot. Suddenly, I love a person. I'm so attached to that person that I am able to give up my dreams so as not to lose that person. We cannot neglect the love we offer. What boycott is this? It's an autoboycottic, right? The person is boycotted all the time. Because she, instead of offering her the necessary love, is care, because how does self-love express itself in a person's life? Through care. From the care I have with me, with my body, with my health, the care I have with my soul, with my spirit. What I offer daily, the book I read, the music I listen to, the places I go to, the friends that I leave to have an authority about me. All this is an expression of self-love. Who does not understand? Sometimes God will tell us, it is in what has been said for a long time. Sometimes we have a lot of longing for novelty. We always want a new thing, and we forget that sometimes God tells us, it is in the roots, in what has been anchored for a long time in our lives, in that word we received from the priest who attended us in the first confession, there in our childhood, or in that preaching that was initial in our conversion process. We needed to return to these origins. Revolutionize. You know that revolutionizing is precisely you return to the beginning. It is not doing something new. It is you to resume what was original, initial. This is revolutionary. That's when you are able to recruit everything that is already old within you and allow this old to continue to communicate you. Because sometimes this is even very cruel. Sometimes a person, for example, who has been with me for 10, 15 years, wants to new all the time. I understand that this may be the expectation, but there comes a time when the news is over. What is the word that has already changed our lives? What was the phrase that changed our life? Or that triggered a process of change? This is where God lives. This is where God resides. I've heard so many new things, but what continues to gestate my daily life is the old one. That's what I heard from Father Leo so many times in my life when I had the opportunity to live with that man, when I had the opportunity to share my days with him. How many times do I catch myself renewing my life from Father Joãozinho's advice? Father Joãozinho has always been a very friendly person, very close to me. Although I do not live with him today, he remains inside me through all the advice I heard. I always say that everything that happened in my life, Father Joãozinho, who helped me open the opportunities. But this man said a lot to me that I can never forget. One of them, which is being a communicating priest. Study every day of your life, because communication is something we learn. You learn to talk about television. You learn to talk on the radio. These techniques, you go to a class, you do a course. If you have a gift for that, you go and develop. Now, content is what makes the difference in communication. I don't need Father Jones to tell me that again. I told me once, and that becomes for me a reference of novelty. When sometimes I get there in the laziness of my day, lazy to open a book, to resume some of the theology I studied, I always remember, I have a commitment to my people. The people deserve a qualified priest, just as the priests who now watch me. Our mission is like this. If we do not invest in our knowledge, the people are at the damage. Because sometimes the opportunity that person has to grow goes through me. Passes you. But the old one continues to have its value. I am very happy to be here today in a new but always old way. All that inside my heart, that is properly rooted essentially. For me, this is the word even though it has managed my days. It's calm. So much. You have no idea of so much that in my life came out of the axis since last year. Since the end of December, early January, February, March, one thing after another. And serious things, really serious have weakened me a lot as a person. I'm still trying to manage some of them that reflected a lot on my health. I'm in the middle. I actually start today a new treatment. I had the fun to find a doctor who looked at me in full, who saw me from very well done laboratory tests. From my dear people from Petropolis, a land that I love so much, and discovered a series of irregularities that are natural from a stressful life, which we know it is the problem of all of us. I'm not just me, I have a stressful life. You have. I'm sure. But we need to take care of us. We need to make one. We need to look with love and calmly. Sometimes we look at each other too hurry. I found it very interesting because when the doctor did, he looked at my tests. He looked very calmly. And that was deeply transformative to me. When I had the opportunity to be before him, a very wise man, though very young, with a lot of experience, he said something that marked me a lot. He said, "Father, when we start to have the manifestations outside the body, it is because something internal is already very deficient. So sometimes we don't even manifest. Of course, sometimes we can get fat, can be out of shape. You can lose your breath when you climb a ladder. Life is teaching us. It shows us. Life is very wise because it has self-protection. The body is a very interesting mechanism. He self-protects himself all the time. So sometimes we get a flu. It's because he's shouting that he needs to rest. Sometimes we have an allergic process. It is because he is shouting that he needs attention. So at that moment when he looked at my exams, he spoke to me. Our lifestyle can kill us, as it can also save us at the right time. So, if you are here today before me wanting my help, I am willing to change your lifestyle so that you are able to favor your body, to give the response your mission needs the Lord. And I found it very, very, very pertinent at that moment of my life to hear someone who was taking care of me. I have my mission to take care of so many people. I have not measured my efforts to make all the gifts God has given me. I work a lot, but we know that within this context of hard work, which is also your life, I'm sure of that, we need the repository breaks. We need to get opportunity, the care that helps us handle the burden we take. I do not intend to stop working. I don't intend to work less. It's my life goal to keep doing everything I do. But, on the other hand, it must be my goal of life to feed with quality. Do what my body rests. It's not like this. And this time was for me, my people, an opportunity to equalize all this. I looked at my life and realized how I valued some nonsense, how I cultivated some excesses. Like some silly things I was giving attention would be perfectly dispensable. You need to be very careful when you will establish a relationship with each other by placing your intimacy, the intimacy of your heart, putting your feeling. So sometimes it doesn't work for it. I haven't matured enough to be able to for me the other. Now, you see, this suffering that you pass on to each other today, since it happened the same way in other relationships, means that the error may be just in the way you manage these relationships. We cannot consciously repeat the same mistakes. Have the courage to put it to you, to identify how you make a mistake in establishing your relationship with each other. One day you sin, we could say, not in the sense of sin that needs to be confessed to the priest. No, but that sin you sin against yourself. It gives up too much of your world to have the other in your life, which is sometimes like this. Dating begins and you immediately give up your world because you want to please the other. You give up the realities you have. From those, they were already part of you. Sometimes there are relationships where the spouses require until the other leaves your friends aside. It is not possible, there is no possibility that you establish a relationship in which you have, Father. But is not love renunciation? Yes. But you expect love to realize yourself. You hope you know that you really love. and be loved to start steps toward these renunciations. You need to date without many pretensions at first. You need to date more lightly. Do not completely open your heart to someone who has just arrived. Don't you know if this will be worth it? Do not break your intimacy just to having the guarantee that the other will stay, no. Love is much easier for you to find a relationship where you feel loved when you don't expect it so much for it. When you don't create so many expectations, right? Look, you are already idealizing until the return of the boy. You are already waiting for him to arrive with an apology to be able to start with you. This is already expectation here, that you do not have the right to feed. And another. Dating. Dating is a wedding essay. When you date, you see what can work out is what not, and what has everything to go wrong, so that it needs to have the freedom to end impressive. How the bonds are increasingly transient, we have difficulty making theme or relationship breaks. That first barrier of superficiality, that it is fruitful and not just dating. No, even a friendship relationship goes through this risk. How hard it is to feed a deep friendship. Why? First, because the environments we go to don't always give us a conversation that makes us friends. It's always very troubled. Always everyone very distracted by mobile phones, and everyone each setting parallel conversations. It's a life changing same. Goes through the concept of conversion. Interesting, right? The conversion that Jesus proposes to us is precisely that we will increasingly take possession of our hearts. It's a depth movement, you see. It is a movement that makes us have an inner search that will never end. Superficiality is end. The depth does not. When you choose to live a search for maturity, for example, like this girl here, why don't my relationships work? It is necessary to investigate. You can't go doing this compressor role just giving the excuse to yourself and others. I have difficulty loving and being loved. I have difficulty being faithful. The person never actually touches the heart of the issues, because no one is by chance. Some reason there needs to be discovered, to be investigated, so that we are able to move it. Aristotle, a classic philosopher, said that life is only worth living as it is reflected. He who does not reflect the life he lives, the one who does not reflect daily personal experience. We may even call this an examination of conscience. Makes a Christian reading of this. What is the examination of consciousness? That opportunity we have to go back to our way of living, to the life we are choosing. And then you have the courage to be your judge. To have the courage to do an interpretation. What is the judge's role? Jurisdiction is precisely to look at reality, to the parts that make up that reality, and identify whether it is fair or not the relationship that the parties are establishing. I need to do this every day with me, you too. Look at the choices you make in your life, the treatment you offer yourself, and know if you are being fair. Many times, we do not come to the answer, this girl. You may need to establish this judgment, investigate with more property. And when it comes to relationship, guys, the first thing we need to put in court is how much we love each other. How do you know it's a sick relationship? When there is no joy in delivery. When you realize that the other is asking you what you could not give to him, which is your identity. To love you, you will have to change that. Papa. That's fine. If it is to change things that were once bad in us, the love of the other does not help us, because it builds us. It will show us what we understand exaggerated, what can be cut. But when